Hello and welcome. My name is Ian, and today we are going to be talking about the team I used to get top 8 at the 2025 Vancouver Regional Championships. Let's get right into it. So, looking at the team here, it doesn't look like anything special. I mean, this is not a groundbreaking 6 Pokemon, so why am I making this team report? Well, the answer is very simple. The answer as to why I'm making a team report on such a standard looking team is because I got top 8 at a regional, and I'm trying to cash in on the clout. So, without further ado, I decided to run this team because I have a big ego. I like winning because I outplayed my opponent. I don't like winning in the team builder. I don't like teams that are just trying to solve the game, flowchart everything. So, I wanted to just simply use the best Pokemon in the game and focus on my play, focus on improving. So, the team, as you can see, is Amoonguss, Incineroar, Urshifu, Raging Bolt, Calyrex Ice, and Rock Ogerpon. Even though it looks very standard, as with any good Pokemon team, the devil is in the details. So, let's go in and actually talk about the details. Starting off with Amoonguss, the centerpiece of the team and my personal favorite Pokemon to use in VGC. Amoonguss is the GOAT. Why? Because of Spore. It is so much pressure that your opponent has to deal with, and it forces them to play a certain way or go to sleep. Amoonguss is the best redirector in the game because it's the bulkiest and it has pressure. The spread that I decided to go with was near max defense, 236 HP, 236 defense, relaxed, and 36 special defense. Now what this does is it guarantees that you take a Glacial Lance from Calyrex, an Icicle Crash from Chenpao, and also you want to make sure that you're the slowest Amoonguss in Trick Room because we are setting up Trick Room with our Ice Rider, so having a min speed Amoonguss is very important there. Terra Water because it's just the best Terra for Amoonguss. The only thing that's really interesting to call out here is Pollen Puff versus Sludge Bomb. Now, you need Spore and Rage Powder, obviously, and you need Protect. Listen, I see people running Amoonguss without Protect. Look, Paul Chua didn't have Protect on his Amoonguss, but that's because he's Paul Chua, okay? He's one of the greatest players of all time. He can do whatever he wants, and I'm sure he has justification for it. I need Protect on my Amoonguss, okay? Protect forces a mind game for your opponent. If Amoonguss doesn't have Protect, they can always just double it, and I don't like playing that way. So as far as I'm concerned, Protect is just as mandatory as Spore and Rage Powder. Now, Pollen Puff versus Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is better, but we have Calyrex Ice Rider. So Glacial Lance is like Sludge Bomb on Omega steroids, and you really just want to be supporting your Ice Rider, so being able to heal back up under Trick Room so that you can get a second Trick Room, and so that you can just keep your sweepers alive and go the distance is very important, so Pollen Puff is correct for this team. Don't change it to Sludge Bomb. Next, we need to talk about who many consider to be the GOAT, Incineroar. Now, first thing to talk about, Flare Blitz. A lot of people go with Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Helping Hand. There's a lot of good moves that it gets, but Flare Blitz was kind of a comfort pick for me. I like being able to Flare Blitz Amoonguss, Rillaboom, Whimsicott, Chenpao, Zamazenta. There's a lot of things that having the fire coverage is really good for. You also hit the grass types that are immune to Spore, and you have knockoff for safety goggles as well. So it really just makes Incineroar the perfect Amoonguss partner. Terragosa is pretty standard. You want to be immune to fighting, things like body press, close combat, and, you know, being able to guarantee that you get a fake out in a turn is really nice, so being immune to fake out, very important. The EV spread is a little bit interesting. You know, Adamant Incineroar isn't that unheard of, but the damage is quite nice. I think if I were running it back, I would maybe consider going specially defensive on Incineroar. I watched Justin Tang's breakdown of the Vancouver Regionals, and he put his own EV spreads on my team, and he had 156 special defense careful Incineroar with the logic of being able to take Sandsear Storm from Landorus, and I think that theoretically would have been better. It didn't ever really come up for me during the tournament. Adamant was nice, but you can play around with the EV spread on Incineroar. The only other thing to really call out here is 52 speed EVs. This is just a speed creep other Incineroar because I liked having the faster fake out. And yeah, pretty standard. Next up is Urshifu Rapid Strike. Now, our Urshifu is Choice Scarfed because I believe this scarf is the best item for Urshifu. You want to be able to have a speed sandwich with Scarf Urshifu and your Trick Room mode. It's really nice because, people aren't going to want to bring their Tornadus, their Whimsicott against your Ice Rider, so because they're not setting up Tailwind, Urshifu is almost always the fastest thing in the battle, which is very scary because, I don't know if you knew this, you can't protect in front of Urshifu. So if Urshifu is moving first and you can't protect in front of it, that is very threatening. It completes our Fire, Water, Grass core and gives you both a good defensive pivot with your good typing, your good stats, except for special defense, but that's okay, we've invested in it a little bit, and U-turn. So it can function as both a defensive piece and an offensive piece on the team. I decided to go with Terra Water because you don't have something like Chien-Pao or Rain to get that extra damage modifier, and if you have a defensive Terra like Terra Ghost, Terra Grass, then you're not able to do things like pick up Sash Chien-Pao, opposing Cornerstone Ogerpon, so it felt like Terra Water was pretty important. The EV spread is pretty standard. There's not a whole lot to call out here. You need enough attack so that you are picking up Calyrex Shadow Rider with Focus Sash with the Terra Water. That has been picking up. A team I thought about a lot going into the event was Kyle Livinghouse's team with the Sash CSR Weezing Chien-Pao D-Knight. And this Urshifu spread is kind of tailored to beat that team. With the HP investment, you take the big extreme speed from Dragonite with all the multipliers, and with the attack investment and Terra Water, you are able to pick up the Sashed Shadow Rider. You have a little bit of special defense, which lets you take max 252 special attack Astral Barrage from Spell Tag Calyrex, but other than that, pretty standard. Next we have the Raging Bolt, which completes our offensive core with Urshifu. You want to just be spamming Surging Strikes as much as possible. The only types that resist that are Grass, Water, and Dragon. Incineroar is able to hit the Grass types, and Raging Bolt is able to hit the Water types and the Dragon types. Raging Bolt is also just generally one of the best Pokemon in the game, and one of my favorite Pokemon to use. The spread is very simple. 252, 252. You could run speed on it, but I wanted to be the slower Raging Bolt under Trick Room. A lot of the teams that use Raging Bolt are like Sun teams and teams that like to go a bit faster, so being able to guarantee that I was the slower Raging Bolt was very helpful, and this just kind of seems optimal for this team. The other thing to call out is Terra Fairy. Now, I was Terra Electric for a very long time, but having a defensive Terra is really important in a lot of matchups. You want Terra Fairy for Dark Urshifu against Regidrago. It's nice to take Draco Meteors from Miraidon. It's nice to get out of your ground weakness against Landorus. But the most important thing that you use Terra Fairy for is the Zamazenta matchup. Zamazenta is amazing against Ice Rider, and in fact, in the Zamazenta matchup, I usually don't even bring Ice Rider. Raging Bolt is your restricted in that matchup, and honestly, dude, Raging Bolt is like a second restricted anyways, is how it feels most of the time. So being able to Terra Fairy and resist Body Press and not take a lot from Heavy Slam is very nice. Now, a lot of the Zamazenta have started to run Behemoth Bash, but it's still okay because after you intimidate them, it's not as threatening, so Terra Fairy on Bolt really goes a long way and was absolutely correct for the tournament. I decided to go with the Booster Energy on Raging Bolt because you really want to be doing damage. It's one of your sweepers. I was running AV Bolt in Reg G 1.0, and it just doesn't do enough. You really want the multiplier from Booster Energy so that Thunderbolt into Thunderclap is able to pick up a lot of things. The only other thing to call out here is Draco Meteor over Dragon Pulse. Do not run Dragon Pulse, please. There are so many situations that Draco Meteor comes up. Being able to Draco Meteor Grass types and Ground types, as well as getting things like Bulky Miraidon, Bulky Terra Dragon Zam. The damage ceiling that Draco Meteor gives you is very important, so don't change that to Dragon Pulse. Next, we need to talk about our restricted Calyrex Ice Rider, and it's interesting because Calyrex Ice actually was not on the initial version of the team. I actually started with this core of 4 and then decided on my restricted after. Initially it was a Shadow Rider, it was a Kyogre, it was even a Rayquaza at one point. I don't want to talk about it. It eventually landed on Ice Rider. The reason for that is because it just fits the identity of the team so well. It's a big, bulky guy that trades damage. Glacial Lance might be the best offensive move that Game Freak has ever created, and it creates some nasty pins with the team. Glacial Lance plus Spore, the classic Bolt Beam combo next to Raging Bolt. I mean, this move is crazy. It also gives you Trick Room. You really want speed control in this format. Something that the core really struggles with is something like Screamtail, which has been picking up a lot recently. If you're not outspeeding Screamtail, it can just Encore disable your entire team, so having Trick Room is very important. It also gives you that speed sandwich I was talking about earlier with Urshifu and Amoonguss. Being able to move first with Amoonguss is very broken, sporing them before they move, so yeah. Pretty standard moveset. Glacial Lance, High Horsepower, Trick Room, Protect. Terra Water was important because Kyogre is something that's been getting a lot more popular in Reg G 2.0. Terra Water is also good against Sun. It's good against Urshifu. Terra Water is just like the best overall middle ground Terra for Calyrex Ice. Moving on to the EV spread. Now, this EV spread is the same EV spread that Patrick Connors used to win NAIC in Reg G 1.0, and it's just the best spread for Ice Rider. I was originally 252 attack, but I realized that with this team, you really want Ice Rider to live as much as possible. You don't really need to do things like guaranteeing the KO on Rillaboom because the whole team just kind of trades damage well, so being able to have some bulk and survive is very nice. It was just kind of a generalist spread, but it does do some interesting things. With the special defense investment, you're able to always take Electro Drift from Timid Miraidon, Modest is a 50-50 roll, and you're also able to take Life Orb Astral Barrage from Shadow Rider without needing to Terra. So just a really solid Ice Rider spread, and yeah. Now, last but not least, we have the spiciest member on the team, Ogerpon Cornerstone. Now, it's not really that spicy. A lot of Calyrex Ice teams are running Cornerstone, but the standard build usually goes with Pelipper here. The reason I wanted Cornerstone is because Double Redirection is so strong in Reg G, and it's so good at protecting Ice Rider. With Follow Me, you're able to nearly guarantee a Trick Room. There's a lot of things that can get around Rage Powder, nothing gets around Follow Me. Well, that's not true. Archelodon with Stalwart does, but that's nowhere to be seen in the meta right now, so Follow Me guarantees Trick Room. Now, everything is pretty standard here. The EV spread could be a little bit bulkier to try and take Mystic Water Surging Strikes, but I didn't really want my Ogerpon in front of Urshifu anyways, and that's because we are not running a grass move. We are running Taunt. Now, Taunt was my MVP move of the weekend. It is good into so many things. You stop Wide Guard for your Calyrex. You stop them from going for Protect. You stop Redirection. You stop Spore from Amoonguss. You stop Wisp from Incineroar. You stop Imprison from opposing Calyrex Ice, which I played twice. If you look, the second place team used by Alejandro, Imprison Ice Rider, Hard Trick Room, I was the only Ice Rider he played that he lost to. Now, he did beat me on the run back in top 8, but that was definitely due to misplays on my end and not any fault of the team. Taunt is the only reason I even have a chance against Imprison Ice Rider. So the reason I felt like I could drop the grass coverage is because I already have Raging Bolt to hit the water types, and I have Amoonguss as well, which is positive into Urshifu and Kyogre. So because I already kind of had two things that can beat those matchups, Ogerpon doesn't really need the grass move. And honestly, Ivy Cudgel is such a good move that when you want damage, clicking Ivy Cudgel is fine 95% of the time anyways, so Taunt was just so much value, and I would not run the team any other way. And that's it. That's the team. If you're looking for a team that will force you to get better at the game, this is the team for you. It is just all the best Pokemon with all the tools you need to win. When you're playing this team, you don't have a lot of bad matchups. You don't have a lot of great matchups, but most of your matchups are 50-50. The one auto loss I'll call out is Terapagos with double fake out and redirection. The reason for that is because double fake out is kind of hard for this team to break. You have your own fake out. You have a lot of just like good bulky guys. Switching Amoonguss in on fake outs is very nice, but Terapagos is able to set up, and you're not really able to pressure it. The double fake out builds with Calyrex Shadow are also annoying, but they're much more doable because Cali Shadow is a lot easier to remove than Terapagos. Some other bad matchups to call out, Imprison Ice Rider, of course. You have Taunt, but if you miss position, it can get nasty. Also, Psy Spam. Especially Cali Shadow Psy Spam is just very difficult to deal with. We don't have any kind of terrain control, so that is a weakness of the team. Your best matchups include Sun, Kyogre, Miraidon is probably my favorite good matchup. With double redirection and Ice Rider, it's just really difficult for Miraidon teams to get in against you. You just trade very well against them, and once you force the Terra Fairy on Miraidon, they can get cleaned up by Surging Strikes or Thunderclap in the endgame. As long as you remove the Farigiraf to stop them from blocking your priority or setting up Trick Room. Main ways you want to play with the team. Look, if they let you go Ogerpon Calyrex, follow me Trick Room with a Amoonguss Raging Bolt in the back, you're just going to win. Obviously, the things that stop that are their own Amoonguss or their own Trick Room mode. Something like Iron Hands can be annoying, but in most other cases, you're pretty safe to just go Ogerpon Calyrex. The way you want to play with the team is just like taking good value trades. So leading Incineroar plus Urshifu, getting damage down and cleaning up with Calyrex, leading with Calyrex and doing damage, and cleaning in the endgame with Surging Strikes and Thunderclap. One of the biggest questions you should be asking when you play the team is, what is my opponent pinned by, and how can I position that? It really is just a big toolbox style of team. It really allows for a high level of skill expression when you're playing, and that's really what I love about it the most. So I hope you guys enjoy playing it too. There will be a rental code and paste in the description down below. And that's the team report. If you have any questions about any specific matchups or anything that I didn't go into, oh my goodness, I didn't talk about Aqua Jet on Urshifu. Listen. I see a lot of people running coaching here. You want Aqua Jet. Having the fast priority oh, I totally forgot about this. I forgot that like people run not Aqua Jet. And you might think, oh, you're Scarf. You know, why do you want to lock into Aqua Jet? You're already outspeeding anything. Having a faster priority move than something like Chenpao, for example, is a big deal. And there are endgames where you can just lock into Aqua Jet and win. So Aqua Jet's really good. It's great at cleaning up games, great if they have Tailwind up. It lets Urshifu move first under Trick Room. It just has a lot of utility, and there were multiple games that I won over the course of the weekend because I had Aqua Jet. Okay, I probably forgot more stuff. Listen, guys, I'm not a YouTuber. I play Pokemon. I compete. Like I said, I'm doing this for the clout. So, if you have any questions about specific matchups or details of the team that I didn't go over very well, leave them in the comments and I'll reply. Thank you for watching.